Hey, all right. It is the Deadmanstome podcast. Your host, MrDeadman. This is a show that's broadcast live from a garage located somewhere, God knows where, in Satan's taint. It is so fucking smoldering hot over here. It's sweating. I'm sweating. I'm like, if you haven't seen the live show, if you haven't seen the YouTube portion, if you just listen to this on the podcast, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But if you ever seen it, I'm like glistening, man. I'm glistening. God, I do this for y'all. I do this because I'm crazy and for y'all. Look at that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, our guest tonight is Don Smith. Don Smith, how's it going? How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic, and it is very, very, very muggy here. I completely agree with you. Today, I had on my t-shirt. I just stepped outside for about 10 minutes, and you would have thought that I went face first into the bathtub wearing it. It was just absolutely muggy. It's one of those things where you just step outside and you just feel 10 years taken off of you.
Yeah. And it's hard to breathe. Not even because of Corona, but because it's just hard to breathe. It's just all the humidity like that. Like it's all super muggy.
Oh, gosh,
and humid.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's horrible. Man, like those are the days where like you put on deodorant, you walk out, even with the deodorant on, it's like you're already sweating. You're like waterfalls in your armpits. Like, what the fuck, man? Why? Why is this happening?
What's the cliche? I've got pit stains the size of dinner plates on my shirt. It's that type of thing.
Yeah. How are you supposed to conduct business like that? How are you supposed to do anything like that? Jesus, man.
Well, basically say, give me all your money or I lift my arms up.
That's fair. Okay. All right, Don Smith. Oh, we have a sponsor tonight. We have a sponsor. This show is not sponsored by this gay unicorn beer I have. Gay unicorn beer. Yeah, that's a thing. That is a thing.
Very nice. Well, I'm sure that every homosexual mythological creature has their own brewery, so it makes sense.
Yeah. That's great. And I totally picked this up by accident. I wasn't even thinking, oh, there's a rainbow in the can. That must be an LGBTQ thing. I just thought it because, honestly, I saw the unicorn and the rainbow, and oh my God, maybe I need to see my therapist.
Either that or they're trying to brew for the fourth grade crowd that's very popular amongst the
right.
That's popular in the adult beverage community.
You see, that's the other thing. I was like, oh my God. See, my daughter just had her birthday. She's 4 years old.
Oh, happy birthday
She's
to her.
4 years old.
When was her birthday?
It was, well, I'm not going to be too specific because of
Right.
It is what it is. Internet. I'd say July. So very recent.
Okay, mine is very, 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 very soon. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, nice. Is she obsessed with unicorns? Is she all unicorns?
No. I mean, my birthday is.
Oh, your birthday.
Very, very soon. Yes.
Well, are you into unicorns and rainbows?
I'm actually pretty good at drawing unicorns, and let's just say that in my day job, it makes me very popular amongst people.
Okay. Tattoo or something?
Nah, I don't know what I can and can't say because I think if I said too much, I probably get asked not to come back to my day job as it is.
Gotcha.
I call it my rent-paying job.
That makes sense. Well, this is just a long way to get to the fact that when I saw this beer, the first thing I thought of was actually my daughter. It'd be so confusing for her. Dad, I want that. Nope. I know you do. It's bright. It's blue. It has rainbows, unicorns, but you can't have it. That's Dad's beer.
Empty it out. At least give her the can.
Yeah, I'll do that. At least. All right.
Yeah.
Now, I always start off with this question with all my guests. Who are you and what do you do?
My name is Don Everett Smith Jr. I live in Pennsylvania, and I basically am I am a writer. I really enjoy writing horror. I've written true crime. Plan on doing some more true crime. I write comic books. I also have a podcast called Conversations of the Strange that deals with people from all over the spectrum of kind of like genre entertainment. Like if you've written horror, comic book creator, comedian, true crime writer, all of those. You put them all together, and ghost hunters, whatever. Uh, you put them all together, and you get to come on my show.
Hey, that is a good idea. That's a good podcast idea. A good name and good, good concept right there. Invite all sorts of different sort of creative minds, people, interesting people. Just ask them questions. Who are they and what do
Yeah,
they do? And go from there.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, because what's weird is that all of these genres overlap with each other. Uh, Hold on, I'm gonna let one of my little friends in.
Oh, he
I
has
warned you.
midgets. He has a lot of midgets at his
Yeah,
house. He told me before the show started he has midgets that go into his room. Midgets
that
and,
I
and,
do.
and possessed dolls. So there's that.
That I do. Little midgets that that speak in their own language, the language of the meow people.
Yeah.
So they need a lot of attention. No, I actually got the idea for the name Conversations of the Strange. A very, very dear friend of mine. His name is Robert Schneck, and he pops up in my writing a lot. He is America's historian of the strange. And Robert Schneck is famous because he wrote a book called The President's Vampire. And one of the stories in the book, The President's Vampire, it's like an anthology of weird tales, true weird tales that he actually researched, that popped up from Charles Fort. And um, his story in there called Bridge to Body Island went on to introduce the character the Bye Bye Man, which became the movie
The Bye Bye
that
Man.
had oh goodness, Carrie Ann Moss, a couple of guys from, I think one of the guys from Battlestar Galactica, the updated series, and they were all centered around. They were all based around the character the Bye Bye Man. And Robert has been a huge part of my literary career. He's one of my best friends, and he's got a Facebook page called Historian of the Strange. So I always said, "Hey, would you mind if I were to do a podcast based around your show or what have you?" And this was like early on when I was like jotting around ideas and trying to come up with stuff. And he was like, "Yeah, that would be okay, but it's kind of morphed into its own little thing, and it's become more about it sounds awful, what I want." And Robert's been on the show a number of times, and he's, like I said, he's just one of the dearest friends I've ever had. And the reason why I called it Conversations of the Strange was it was a nod to his Historian of the Strange. And
Okay.
I've always used the word conversations whenever tried to do interview shows. I had a show called the Sherlock Conversations, Conversations
Gotcha.
for the Better, where I interviewed nice people, pastors that would help out the homeless, that type of thing.
Oh, dang. Okay.
So yeah, so just kind of stuck with that. So the conversations just kept going. So that's why I call it
Well,
that. So
and that makes
and
sense. That's what they are. They're just conversations. They're not. I mean, they're not really interviews, are they? I mean, they're just kind of like having a dialogue with someone.
all of the above. Like I try to prepare, especially like if it's the true crime, I will more so research it, or I interview people about their podcast and stuff. I try to listen to a whole bunch of stuff that I try to listen to a whole bunch of stuff so that I can understand what it is. And I do have questions, but I also I try not to be a slave to the form and the slave to the questions, and
Right.
try and let the
You don't want to be a slave to the
show
form at
dictate
all.
itself.
You take the questions, you take the form, you're like, fuck it, throw it out the window. That's what I do.
Yeah, exactly,
I
exactly.
I
If we can
didn't
get a good
I do no prep anymore. It's just, who is this guy? What does he do? And just go from there. Jesus Christ.
nice,
Uh,
nice. That's what I would do too.
uh, okay, but so indie comics, like why? Why comics? Why horror?
Well, when I first grew up, my earliest memory of all time, my first memory, I had a Mego Batman figure. And if I'm turning 46, so guys my age that are into the nerd stuff and the genre stuff, they know what the Mego figures were. These were the figures that were out before Star Wars was even a thing. And
Yeah, so I probably don't know what they are.
oh, okay. And they were great. And I remember being 2 years old and throwing one up into the air trying to catch it. And I have just always loved comic books. When I was growing up, I was a collector of comic books. I would go back and forth with who I liked. Like some days I'd really love Marvel, then the next days I'd really love DC, and depending on who had the better stories. And I just collected comics for, oh goodness, probably well until about 2005, 2010 or so.
Okay.
And then I still buy comic books, but I'm not like I don't have specific titles that I collect anymore. But in about
Is it getting
2008,
harder?
2000,
Is it getting harder to find comics you like when they like
yeah,
mess with the characters, or
yeah,
they turn the characters gay or whatever they do now? You know.
yeah. You know what was funny? I actually was called a bigot about this literally yesterday because I said the four things that are the big problems with comic books today are the constant politicalization of everything. It was
Yep.
all like, hey, we're proud of having a person that is of a certain background writing our story. And my first reaction is, well, have they proven themselves to be able to write this character?
No.
And
Probably not.
exactly, exactly. And if you disagree with that person because they don't have the talent for it, then that means you dislike whatever political, gender, sexual,
Right.
whatever ethnic orientation they are. And I just basically said, now we're at a point where like literal authors and writers and artists are saying, you know what, I don't want your money. If you supported this guy or support
Mm-hmm.
this, I don't want your money. And I'm completely blown away by that
I
concept
know. Imagine
because
that business model. Like if you support someone I don't like, I don't want your money. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? Come on.
holy cow, yeah. And you're starting to see a bit of a pushback to it, which is a good thing. But I think the other problem is that with comic books is the other thing that's killed it is all the major events that they've had. It's not just like, okay, let's turn the character of Green Lantern, let's take him away from Hal Jordan, and we'll make a whole new Muslim character, gay character, female character,
Wait.
just
Time
so we
out.
can
Is there a
say.
Muslim Green Lantern? Is the Green
I
Lantern now
believe so. There
Muslim?
is. I think his name is Boz something or other.
Uh,
I stopped reading it after Hal Jordan. I actually stopped reading it after
does he? Okay. So
one of the big storylines, and it just got to the point where it was like either constant reboots, constant event things, and there's no more status quo. Because that what was so great about the comics for years was you could read an issue. In this issue, Spider-Man fights the Green Goblin. In the next issue, Spider-Man fights Dr. Octopus.
mhm.
In the next issue, he fights the Vulture. Now it's just straight up um, Spider-Man hangs out with the Avengers, hangs out with the X-Men while this giant thing comes to destroy the Earth.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like, and this is like the fifth giant destroying thing that will reboot the Marvel universe that they've had in the last 8 years. And
Hmm.
you're just like, I actually joked one time and said, I just want to see Green Lantern go on a picnic.
Yeah.
I just want to do
Right.
something normal.
They need to
So,
dial it back a bit. They need to dial it back. They're trying to outdo their big explosive event, and they make it to where it's impossible. How do you up the ante
yeah.
when you already went all the way? You went balls to the wall. Like how are you supposed to go any further?
Yeah, and see the other problem with these event things is that they'll come up with one big event, crisis, civil war, whatever. And then you'll have to do is you will have to buy all of like all the issues, crisis 1, crisis 2, crisis 3, so forth and so on. If they want to make it 6 issues, great. If they want to make it 12 issues, watch out. And then you've got to do all the tie-ins associated with that. So if you've got to buy 3 months worth of Spider-Man comics that tie in with Crisis, then you've got to buy 3 months of Captain America, and even then it's kind of like, well, which titles of Captain America and Crisis do you have? And it's just like I said, it was just really really crazy how to do this. And one of the things that I've tried to do as an independent creator is I try to tell just one shot stories because it's very hard as a creator to go like, hey, if I want to sit down and do a 12 issue series with it's like if you're watching a TV show series, like a soap opera type of thing, or like an action, like a Lost type of thing.
Okay.
Like there are no individual episodes of Lost. It's just straight episode 1 all the way to the last episode, and you've got to watch them all
Yeah,
type of thing. And I try to do like with the stuff that I write, I try to do, you know what, you can walk away from this issue. You don't need to know. Like I try to give a general backstory, but not too much of a like you've got to collect 300 issues of something beforehand to know what this next issue means.
Right.
And I prefer writing just single issue stuff. And I just, like I said, I've always loved superheroes. I've always been into this, and I just started creating independent comics because I learned how to do it, and I want to do it, and that's why. So,
Okay. Now, I definitely want to dig into the horror aspect because I understand your comics, they don't seem to be like the cape and tight comics, but they seem to be a horror type, which is what I like.
yes.
Before we go there, in the chat, there's 2 questions that popped up. One, Don Smith, is that really your real name?
Yes, I am Don Everett Smith Jr. Somewhere in Florida, there is a Don Everett Smith Sr.
Okay. All right, so that is your real name. Now, go ahead and give us your date of birth and social security number since we're just trying to...
Sure.
No, I'm just joking.
Absolutely.
Just go ahead and dox yourself. Okay. And also...
I dare you to come to my house.
Hey, that's good, man. That's good. You're armed up. That's
No,
good.
no. Please don't come to my house. I was
Don't.
just thinking of like Iron Man 3. Yeah, here's my home address. And then all of a sudden, a whole bunch of helicopters come your way with missiles.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think my revolver is going to do well against a helicopter with missiles. Okay. So the other question is, you do comics. You're on a show. It's live. It's on YouTube. You kind of... I'm sure you expected this question. What are your thoughts about CG? Comicsgate. Yeah.
I'm going to be flat out honest with you.
Be honest. That's the best way to be. Be honest.
Yeah. There are aspects of Comicsgate that I really do like.
Sure.
I like the stances that they take against... Okay, all right. I'm just going to give this as an example. Hey, everybody. I am with the Jones Comic Book Company, and our very popular character, Eleanor Girl, which is the name of one of the midgets that's living next to me. Eleanor Girl, who's our most popular character ever. They've had movies about her. We have somebody from the country of Gallifrey writing her. And, okay, well, is this writer from Gallifrey a good writer? Or are you just hiring somebody from Gallifrey to write this? And because I have taken the stand of questioning the validity of it, I am anti-Gallifreyan. So that makes me a racist. So I hate all Gallifreyans. Boom. And I like that they comment on things like that. However, I have heard other shows, and I know people who know them, that have questioned the tactics of people that are associated in the Comicsgate movement, that have said they're just as rude and can be just as harsh as, for lack of a better phrase, the SJW types of what I gave the example of using a Gallifrey. These Comicsgate people can be just as rude and just as vicious. And I understand defending a perspective, but I also don't think you need to stir up unnecessary controversy.
Right.
And I'm going to point to a YouTuber that's really good, a guy by the name of John Delarons. I'm going to probably butcher his name. He's a guy that just does reviews of comic books, and he comments on the culture itself. He's one of these types that will sit there and say, okay, you're giving Eleanor Girl, this lady from Gallifrey, is she talented enough for it? He'll call out people like that, but he also questions the tactics of people that are associated with the Comicsgate.
Right.
So he would be the equivalent of libertarian of sorts in the world of comic books. And I'm not saying he's libertarian, but if you're
Right.
looking at people that
I'm
are
following you.
like, hey, I'm Republican, I'm Democrat, I don't agree with either side, I'm libertarian or I'm independent, that's what John
More
would
like
be.
independent. Yeah, I'm
And
following you. I'm following you. I'm following you.
yeah,
Okay.
and John has done research and he's spoken out about it, and I would honestly recommend go watching his stuff. After you've listened to all the Deadman show stuff, go check out his stuff,
Thank
and
you.
his
Thank you.
stuff is absolutely fantastic,
Yeah,
and he can explain that a lot
I've
more in depth than I could.
I've noticed that stuff too. I mean, I kind of feel like I'm on the outside looking at this stuff, and I see that in Comicsgate, and it means well. It looks like it means well. I definitely like the indiness of it. It's like
Yeah,
these artists, they're actually doing their own stuff. They're putting out they're creating a comic book, and putting it out there. Sometimes I wonder if they spend more time creating videos bashing and dunking on SJWs than they do actually working on their content and marketing. Or maybe that's part of the marketing. Maybe that's part of the marketing. Hey guys, this is MrDeadman of the Deadmanstone podcast. Let me tell you something. If you buy this book, it's called Bikers versus the Undead. When you buy this, SJWs cry. Every time you buy this book, Bikers versus the Undead, SJWs cry. Why? It's masculine bikers, rough bikers. It's everything that SJWs hate. Okay. So yeah, stuff like that. It's like it's clear, it's obvious that when they do stuff like that, that that's what they're kind of going for. It seems like. But what really grinds my gears is that you could see that there's some like petty infighting. I don't really know the whole details, or I don't really care to name names right now, because like I said, I just see it coming from the outside. I see it. I'm like, okay, so these guys fight, and it's over something stupid and trivial, and it's like, oh, you're not part of the clique now because you didn't, I don't know, give me a shout out at some convention when I helped you out. I don't
yeah,
know. It's so crazy.
yeah. There is a level of pettiness, and I want to go in another. May I turn this in a slight direction?
Sure. You,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, you're the
I'll give
guest.
you an example. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Um, I gave the example when I was using the word Gallifrey. I'm sure your listeners know what Gallifrey is. It's the planet from Doctor Who. I was a huge, huge, huge Whovian for a number of years. And the current iteration of Doctor Who, the 13th Doctor, Chris Chibnall, who's running things, Jodie Whittaker, they've completely wrecked and destroyed the show.
Hmm.
And
Don't they
I
have to like
am
redo
one
it
of the
now or
things
something? I mean, I heard they totally fucked it up.
beyond. They just basically went back and just completely just destroyed the mythology behind it, like 50 years of mythology that people worked really hard on, much the same way that J.J. Abrams did to Star Wars The Extended Universe.
Mm.
And basically told all the writers, oh, by the way, you know what you guys worked really hard on? Doesn't matter anymore. And that's basically what Chris Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker and those guys do. And every night when I pray for the safety of my family, I pray for the removal of Chris Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker from Doctor Who. And I'm not a fan, obviously. But the thing is that the people that are out there, there are voices that are really, really fantastic, that are leading the charge about pointing out the silliness going on in the BBC. One of my favorite listeners is Bulls Trek. Not listeners. One of my favorite YouTube channels is Bulls Trek. Also, there's a guy, TARDIS Zone. His name is Noel. Fantastic guy, really nice guy. All of them. There's a
His
whole
name is
group of
Noel,
them.
like Kiwi Farms. No, I'm
Noel,
just joking.
Noel. I'm sorry, Noel. I think I'm not gonna even try his last name because I might ruin it. But really, he's this Irish guy that broadcasts about it, and really, really nice guy. And they are they're sort of at the forefront. They're leading. Not that they're the leaders of it, but they're some of the leading voices that are anti what's going on in Doctor Who, which is great. But I'm of the opinion that for other people that are not as talented as they are when it comes to making videos and able to put their stuff together, I'm of the opinion of, why don't we start creating our own versions of Doctor Who, whether it be fan fiction,
That's what you
come
do,
up with
man.
an original character, run with it. I mean, much the same way that the guys that made Stranger Things, they originally asked for, hey, can we get the rights to it and do a remake of it? And they basically said, and studio said no. So they took their own, they kind of took somewhat of the plot of it and kind of combined it with the Mist or the Fog. I forget which one it was, and just kind of slammed that together and made a whole series, a very popular series on Netflix for it. So my attitude is, why don't we do something like that? Why don't we take a Sherlock Holmes-esque character, put him in a spaceship, and let him go run around space and time and solve crimes? Like
Right? Now's the
that type
time to
of
do
thing.
it. Obviously, you can't use the name, can't use the trademark, but
Right.
you can create it in spirit. That's what you do, man. Oh, God. That's what you
And that's
do.
what I would like to do. And the reason why I bring this back, and let me bring it back to Comicsgate, is if you want to make comic books, create the comic books.
Mm-hmm.
To obviously take the stands that you want to take, but don't stir crap up. I mean, don't make unnecessary stinks about it. I'll tell you this: Al Sharpton is annoying on the left, and if there was a right version of Al Sharpton, he would be just as annoying.
Yeah. And that happens too. I mean, you get you know how you have SJW Puritans are like, you can't have sexualized females because it's bad. Think of the women. Then you get right-leaning Puritans are like that want to see things done a certain way. They don't want. They definitely don't want to see any comic that mocks Jesus or anything like that. You know, they wouldn't be up for that. Anyway, but
Yeah, no, I understand.
okay,
Yeah,
but
because I'm that way. Actually, I'm a big Jesus fan, so I wouldn't want to do that as well. But at the same time, I would support somebody's right to make a comic mocking Jesus. I would not buy it. I would not support it in any shape or form. But at the same time, they've got the right to do it. I'm
right.
not happy with it. I'm not happy it exists. But let's just say I tolerate it.
I'm Team Jesus too, but I walk the line. I walk the line sometimes because I do horror. And one time, I think it was a few years ago, April, I was like, we're going to do, I know it's cliche, zombie Jesus, but I was like, if we're going to do this, we're going to go all the way. And I will pray for forgiveness. I mean, I'll walk that line. And it was fun. It was fun. Anyway, but
Yeah,
horror comics still. So,
yeah.
I mean,
Horror
do you
comics, the
take?
reason.
I mean, oh, sorry. Do you really like the 1950s horror comics, like
Oh my gosh,
Eerie,
they're
Tales from the
beautiful.
Crypt?
They are absolutely beautiful. One of my favorite things to do is there are so many golden age uploaded comics onto the website that have either passed out of the copyright, similar to what happened with Night of the Living Dead, why you can see Night of the Living Dead anywhere and everywhere, and there's no copyright to them.
Mm-hmm.
And these things have fallen out of copyright, and you can jump online and go to any golden age looking place and or website or what have you, download them, and you can read these beautiful horror comics. The writing back then was fantastic. The tales were, they were really they created an atmosphere. They created an absolute atmosphere, and they were just beautiful. And that's kind of what I try to do with my stuff. I try to bring that type of atmosphere back. I'm in no way saying I was as good as any of those EC Comics guys or any of those horror guys, Tales from the Crypt. They are on a level of genius and awesomeness that
Mm-hmm.
I'm just glad it's there. I'm not going to say I'm never going to be as good as those guys are, but it's just nice to know that I shared existence with them, and what they left behind is just still entertaining to read years later. And it's just great. They can create an atmosphere, and what I like about it is it's pure escapism. It's cathartic, honestly.
Right.
The reason why horror is so well loved is it is cathartic. It is
It is.
absolutely cathartic.
It is.
And those comics are that way too, and they just kind of walk away. They just, you read them, have fun with them, and just let them walk away. It's great.
Right. And the writing is definitely on point. The writing was great. The artwork was fantastic. And you know it has to be, even if you never read one. Just take this. Like, it was horror comics that really pushed for the government to want to censor comics, right?
Yeah. Holy cow, that Bill Gaines stuff. God bless
That's
him. God
that's
rest
how
his
you know
soul.
it
All
was
the
good.
above.
That's how you know it's
Yeah.
good. When the government's like, "Whoa, no, 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 this is too much. We got to think of the children." Oh, come on. What's
Yeah, Frederick Wortham, who I think is probably one of history's biggest unknown scumbags, did that. He was very self-glorifying man in his tripe called Seduction of the Innocent. Basically reprinted a lot of the comic stuff there, and I don't know that he had the rights to do that. And it's like honestly, why Bill Gaines didn't sue him for copyright, he could have had a really good case to stand on against it.
Mm.
And all the other stuff was just like he was accusing Batman and Robin of being like a homosexual dream, more or less. I think more like a homosexual pedophile dream was kind of what the implication was with that.
Well,
And
that's
and
like
it
low
was at a
hanging
time
fruit,
when
right?
when
You look back
it,
at it now. It's kind of low hanging fruit. It's like too easy. It's like,
yeah.
okay, it's like, what are they doing?
Yeah. Well, honestly, what they were doing was because comic books were so popular with adults that they were just kind of like, well, we want to get the kid market in. And somebody says, well, we can't make Batman a kid. Why don't we let's give him this guy, this kid that give him in a red shirt and yellow cape and give him Robin. And basically the whole point of what Robin was supposed to be was Robin was supposed to be he was supposed to be the window into Batman or the window into Batman adventures. Like
Into his
you would
soul.
imagine, like if you were a
I'm
10-year-old
just
year old boy, you imagine yourself swinging and beating up the Joker along with Batman. Like
mm,
nobody honestly cared very little about the Bruce Wayne, Dick Grayson stuff. Like if you ever read a Batman comic, there may be in maybe handful of panels, 2 or 3 pages, and then the rest of it's all Batman Robin adventures.
okay. Now let's talk about your comic. Is it the
Yes.
Candleman, right? The Candleman, is that one
Yeah,
of them?
I've got a couple of them there. Yeah, I've got the Vampire of the Lost Highway, the Candleman, and the Ghost Investigator Adventures.
Oh, okay. So the Candleman, isn't that like a creepy pasta thing? What is the Candleman?
Well, honestly, I was a couple of years ago, I was looking for the chance to write a horror comic, and I wanted to come up with something very quick off the bat. And I was, of all things, watching an Abbott and Costello video,
Okay.
and he was looking at something, and this candle moved from right to left, and I said candle, and I was just like, is there anybody called the Candle Man? And I just was like, hey, that's a pretty cool name. And I started writing something about him like that, like this. When you write a story, it fleshes it out, it fleshes itself out on its own. And
Hmm.
when I started writing, I was kind of like, well, what do I want to do with him? Is he a guy? He's walking around as a candle. Maybe he was an old trapper or something. I don't know. And I kept writing, and ultimately, what revealed itself as I write, because I got to tell you, some writers who really take this craft seriously are not writers. They're more or less transcribers from an alternate dimension or from information from an alternate dimension if they do it right. And that's what happened was like by the end of the story, what revealed itself to me was he was this guy that was trapped in as a blizzard. He was a trapper trapped in a blizzard years and years ago, and he just, when body parts started wearing out, he would go after people that are not very nice and start removing body parts to replace the parts that were falling apart.
On himself.
So yeah, so like more or less you got a serial killer who's like, oh, I'm gonna kill this woman, and then he comes up from behind and says, yeah, you know what I really need a new nose, I'm gonna take yours. And then he rips it off the guy's face, and then he takes his old nose off and puts it on his head, and then basically kills the serial killer. That's what the Candleman is. And I
Man,
thought it would.
if you could, if it actually worked that way, could you imagine what would happen if it actually worked that way? Where like, like let's say you have a bad leg, a bad hip, and you're like, you know, someone like a few apartments down or whatever. You probably have a plan. You can get rid of them. Maybe you got that Jonestown Kool-Aid or whatever, and you're like, hey, drink this, and you know, you have they pass out. You take out their hip or whatever, and I guess what he just kind of adds it to them. Like, how does he do that? How's he gonna do that?
Well, well, honestly, like I leave a lot of that ambiguous because I sure as heck don't know. Because like, what happens to
Yeah.
the leg? Okay, if the Candleman is standing like say 6'1", 6'2", and he goes, "I need a new leg," and he takes the leg from somebody that's 5'9", how does that work?
You know,
And
that's fair because some of that stuff is better not explained. Because
oh
the
yeah,
more you explain it, the more it's like, what? That doesn't make any sense. You know?
yeah, exactly, exactly. John Byrne, who did an amazing series called Superman: The Man of Steel in 1986, explained that the reason why Superman was bulletproof is because his body gives off a force field about a half an inch off of his body, and that explains why he can fly, because that force field pushes Superman up. And it got so convoluted and complex that people are like, "What the heck are you talking about?" And to which he responds, "You know what? Maybe it's best that we just kind of not know how Superman does it. Let's just
Right?
say that Superman just flies, and we'll just leave it at that."
Just leave that stuff to the fans. The fans like doing that anyway. It kind of builds their own little community. They can argue and have debates over how does it make sense? How does Wolverine's claws or how does that actually work? How does it make
Yeah,
sense?
exactly, exactly. Where does Optimus Prime's trailer go when he transforms? Let it
Because of
disappear.
his
We don't
ass.
need to know. Yeah, it just it just disappears, and that's what I like doing with the Candleman. Is
Yeah.
like, more or less, just let the horror speak for itself. He's this ghoulish thing that comes out of nowhere holding a candle, and he makes a couple of quips, and then he proceeds to beat a man to death to get a body part so he can add it to himself.
It's,
So
talk to Suffer in the chat. He mentioned what the midichlorians. Did I say that right? The explanation that
yeah,
George Lucas gave for the Force. Don't
yeah,
no. It was just best left alone, as if it was some sort of weird power that we didn't understand. God
yeah,
dang it!
exactly, exactly. Three things that George Lucas did wrong, and it can be said in 4 words: midi-chlorians, Jar Jar, Disney.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
George Lucas should have kept it. I mean,
Yes.
episode one was bad. Episode two is. I actually kind of liked episode three. I kind of like it a little bit. It's not needed. It's not needed at all because you know what's going to happen. It's just telling
Yeah.
the story you already know. But it was interesting to see. It's like okay, but then you have that
Yeah.
no at the
Yeah.
very end.
Crunch. Yeah. I'm one of the weird people that enjoyed episode one, but I only enjoyed it for one reason, and that was Darth Maul.
Oh yeah, he was
And
kind of cool. He was
and I, yeah,
he was
because it was
cool.
one of, I just thought he was a great character.
Well, he looked cool, and he was thrown away too easy so soon.
Yeah.
Come
Yeah.
on,
Exactly.
man. All right.
Exactly.
And I don't even remember episode two. I watched it, I think, once or twice. It just seemed like a mix. I was like, whatever. I don't give a fuck. you know?
Right. 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 I can understand, but I will tell you this though: I will take episode one over the atrocities that came from 7, 8, and 9.
Oh,
I
hell yeah.
watched 7. I watched episode 7, and I literally within the year gave away all my Star Wars stuff, and I have
Mm.
nothing to do with Star Wars anymore. I
See,
seriously
yeah.
don't. I
Like, when I watched 7, episode 7, I was like, okay, I'm liking this for a little bit. And then in the movie, it's like something happened. A switch was flipped or whatever. The script was flipped, and it was like, now we have the superstar destroyer. It's like, where the fuck did that come from? Or the super
Yeah,
Death Star, whatever the fuck they called it. You know what I'm talking about? Super Star Killer base, Star Killer
yeah,
base. Where the fuck did that come from? Jesus Christ, we're doing this
yeah.
again?
It was
Oh,
really really insane. I didn't understand what they were trying to. They were basically they rehashed the old plot from episode 4, and I hated the way that they killed off Han Solo. I got that they killed him off, but they killed him off in the stupidest way possible.
honestly,
And
Harrison Ford probably didn't want to do anymore. He's probably done. He's like, just kill
well,
me
yeah,
off.
but what I wanted was, could he at least crash a ship into something?
That'd be nice.
L- Yeah, like, oh, hey, these guys need to get away, so I'm going to crash a ship into something. Okay, cool. Instead, he just walks right up to his son, and he just is like, and his son just guts him and then throws him off a bridge, and I'm just like, really? Yeah, because by them doing that, they completely made Han Solo and Carbonite utterly pointless. as a plot device. And the fact that him and Leia weren't together anymore, beyond obnoxious. And the other thing that really made me incredibly angry was I had to sit through 45 minutes of these other people. I had no idea who they were. I didn't care about Rey. I didn't care about the stormtrooper.
Right.
I didn't care about the Poe guy, and I just didn't care about any of them. And
Right.
I had to sit through 45 minutes of that to finally get somebody that I knew of. And I just was like, why? I don't care about any of these people. And
Mm-hmm.
I just honestly felt like saying, like, yeah, hi, remember you people that grew up with Star Wars, bought the figures, bought the books, bought the comics, bought the videos, made nights of it. Yeah, we don't care
Oh,
about you anymore. You've got to like these new people. And I
okay.
just was like,
Let me
screw that.
let me direct us back to your comic real fast. I'm kind of going Star
Sure,
Wars here.
sorry.
For these podcasts, I do try to keep it on a time schedule
Sure.
here. Okay, so how would you pitch to Candleman for someone who's I don't know, maybe kind of interested but not really there? How do you pitch it?
Candleman, basically, I would say kind of, I hate to say it this way, more or less, he's a ghoul that replaces parts of it that has survived for hundreds of years, replacing parts of his body with the parts of the bodies of people that have it coming.
Okay, okay. I mean, that part is very interesting. That he kills people, takes their parts, takes their body parts. That's kind of interesting. Now,
Yeah.
there's the other thing, other one on someone might like. What was this? Vampire on the Highway, Resurrection.
Yeah, Vampire of the Lost Highway. That
What is
was
that?
a few years ago. I got really involved with, like, like the cryptozoology, ghost hunting, and all of that stuff. And I wanted to see if I could write an original one. So I created this whole city with its own mythos and this own kind of Mothman-esque character. And anybody just spends any time reading a Batman comic and knows where I come from can see the influences. It's like just total nods to Dracula, total nods to Batman. And I was trying to come up with like a superhero that was not not good looking. Like if you met the vampire, he kind of would be that. Yeah, kind of has that creepy vibe where he's the guy that sits across from you on the bus and just kind of stares at you and just makes you really uncomfortable. That's kind of what the Vampire of the Lost Highway is that he's just like someone that's not very good looking. And ironically, he was wearing the masks long before us COVID people were.
Right.
And he kept a mask over his face because I have no idea what's under his mask. I honestly don't. He's never told me. And what happens is that he is cursed. He's cursed to follow this highway that he's cursed to follow this highway where from his home city.
Okay.
And people that break down on the highway, he kind of steps up and kind of helps them out, makes
All
them
right.
horribly uncomfortable in the process, and then takes off. So
And that would be
that's
like
kind of,
the Mothman aspect of this, right?
yeah, yeah,
Ah, okay.
yeah, exactly.
Is he also like an
So
omen for bad things to come? Like does he fly over? Did he fly over the trade center before he got before
no,
the
no,
planes?
no,
Or,
no. He only kind of sticks to this one area
okay.
of where I'm from, or where he's from, in this city called Fort Hawk. And he's been there and he spends his time there, but he tends to just kind of show up whenever he's needed.
Okay. All right. So he's definitely not like a bad omen sort of thing. It's not like
No,
something.
no, no,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
He's a very, very, very. He's sort of my Frankenstein's monster type of guy. He's very lonely, keeps to himself. He's got a place up someplace where he kind of keeps his stuff, and he just kind of keeps to himself. So, but still, he just makes people uncomfortable.
So like, if a family, like a National Lampoon's Family Vacation type, they're on a station wagon. They get I don't know. They break down on the highway. They run across this vampire. Is that vampire gonna like kill all of them, even the kids?
No, 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 no. He honestly, speaking of going back to my buddy Robert Schneck, he had that book called The President's Vampire.
Okay.
And on the cover of the book that he had a giant vampire bat. And I thought it was kind of interesting that they used the term vampire for a giant winged thing. And it wasn't just like, like this blood-sucking Dracula thing. And so kind of like vampire was the name he was given by the local press. So like it was his nickname, like, kind of like the Night Stalker, the vampire. Oh gosh, there was a serial killer that called himself the vampire of something or other. And it was that type of thing. It was sort of like his nickname was, oh, hey, what's that big winged vampire-y looking thing? Oh yeah, that's a vampire. He's flying over the Lost Highway again. Vampire of the Lost Highway. Okay. That's what I was going for. He's honestly not allowed to kill anybody. Because it, like, more or less, the character of the Vampire of the Lost Highway, a couple of 100 years ago, made a deal with the devil to try and save his wife, and it fell through, and he was cursed.
That must be one hell of a wife to save her. I mean, I guess he doesn't mind the nagging and the complaining about not taking out the trash and all that. So
no. Well, nobody was taking out the trash in the 1800s. They were reusing the trash for everything.
Yeah, I guess so.
So, yeah. So no, that was his character. He was doing it. Like I said, he's a very lonely character. He misses his wife. He just be friends with people, and he just weird people out.
He's not allowed to kill anyone. So
he will if he needs to, but he's not
do?
like he's not like the Candleman. The Candleman is more of an anti-hero. The vampire is more, like I said, he's more kind of like a Frankenstein monster type of character, but with a more pure sense of justice and I'm here to right the wrongs type of thing.
Okay. But on the highway.
Mm-hmm. On this one particular road, yes.
On this one particular road. Okay. So if you're someone who did something you weren't supposed to on that road, let's say, maybe not the National Lampoon's family, but let's say someone who had like a dead hooker in the trunk or something, he would stop him. He would mess with him.
Yeah, I actually have some of the stories that I've written. He actually beat the hell out of a truck driver and destroyed a truck that was actually transporting several stacks of magazines that were filled with, shall I say, children, and I'll just leave it at that.
Oh, God. Damn. Must be that Epstein delivery. Okay.
Yep, exactly. So.
Jesus Christ. Oh, I got the Lolita Truck Express. Okay. All right.
Yep.
So, okay. Damn. Well, that's good. Kind of like Spawn. Didn't Spawn made a deal with the devil when he came back, but he had to get souls, right? He had to collect souls. Is that right?
I believe so. It was one of those things where I only read a handful of the comics. As great as Todd McFarlane is, I tried reading them, and they could be a bit convoluted sometimes. Yeah. And the movie that had Michael J. White and John Leguizamo was kind of interesting. And I was
well, the movie is interesting. I mean, it's 90s graphics. It doesn't really hold up, but it's interesting.
It is. So, I mean, yeah, it is what it is, but it's just kind of like, okay, this is fascinating.
I will say though, I kind of like the Marvel movies back then because they didn't have this big plan. They didn't know they were going to make everything all family friendly either. So they went for R.
Yeah, like just trying it out and everything. It's one of the reasons why Deadpool is probably one of the best movies of the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like they just swung for the fences, and that to me is when it's good.
And I heard bad news. Are they really going to can Deadpool? Are they going to?
I hope not. I was hoping for an R-rated Deadpool Wolverine movie. That would just be absolutely amazing. It really would, and it needs to happen.
If they want to make money, that's easy money right there. That's an easy crossover. Oh my fucking God! You don't even have to have much of a script or a story. You don't have to explain much of anything. Just have Wolverine and Deadpool crossover. That's all you need. I'll watch that. I'll watch that fucking shit.
Yeah, exactly. It would be because you would love. Because the other thing that's great about them is Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman have this kind of. They have this sort of like professional wrestling type of vibe where, like, if you ever watch wrestling and you know the background info on these guys, if they're the best of friends behind the scenes on camera, they're the worst of enemies, and they put on a heck of a show. That's what Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman would do.
Well,
And I would love to see that. They would bring out the best in each other, and it would just be great. And it needs to be an R-rated movie. It
it
needs to
has to be
swing for
R.
the
It has to be
fences.
R. I want lots of violence, and I want some titties. There needs to be a strip club scene in there. There need to be fucking fighting in a strip club. Have that fucking go
Yep.
down. The fact that Deadpool 1 had a strip club scene, it was great. I was like, finally, we're getting it.
Oh.
Going back to the 90s. Come on, a little bit.
Oh yeah. I was sitting there. You can practically, like, when you watch the original Deadpool with Ryan Reynolds, you could just sit there with a notepad and just sit there and just come up with like giant bag of assholes. This stuff is great. Like, he would just find one person and just dig and dig and dig and dig. And that was what was so great about it. And he would just, like, he wouldn't just end with him saying, oh, this guy's a shithead, this guy's a jerk, this guy's an asshole. It would be him just coming up with like he would curse in such a way and say words that were just, you would never hear them in a combination of
Oh yeah,
it
he's
ever
really
in
creative
that
with
way.
that. And that's how you need to do it. You know, saying fuck and saying asshole. That's tired. You gotta be creative with it. You gotta be creative.
Yeah, exactly. Like, who's that stinky bag of blah blah blah, and just, oh, you're just like, this was
Okay.
great, and I wanted, and that was what he did, because like, I like my R. It's one of the reasons why I don't watch PG-13 horror movies.
Oh yeah, they're boring. Why? You already know what it's
Yeah.
gonna be. Jump scares and something about a ghost. I don't give a shit about ghosts. I know you have a comment about paranormal investigators, ghost investigators, whatever.
Yes.
But it's like I've been trying so hard to try to lure one to me. Hopefully a succubus or something. But they don't bother showing. At this point, I'm just like, that must not exist.
Well, that's the weird thing. Most ghost stories tend to be people that don't want to see them end up seeing them, and people that really do want to see them never have it happen. It's just, I don't know. It's just kind of like the universe is weird that way, or it just doesn't work that way, where you want something, or if you really, really want something, it doesn't work out. I mean, like, how many
Could be
stories did
framed
you
in
hear
another
about, like,
way. That the crazies that need to be on medication see them all the fucking time, and those that are sound and sound
cow,
rational
yeah.
mind never see them. I'm just messing with you. I'm just fucking with you.
No.
Have
You
you seen one?
do meet a lot of crazies when you get into the paranormal stuff and everything. That's the other thing. You're trying really hard. Like, hey, I want to do legitimate investigation, and then some lady comes out and says, "I've seen a ghost." Really? Yeah. It told me it's going to predict my lottery numbers for the next week and a half. All right. Have a good night. It's
That's
that
bad.
type of person. So
Okay. Now, one other thing I definitely want to talk to you tonight is about your true crime podcast. There's
Yes.
two topics that are on the list: true crime and social bandwagoning. We're gonna go into overtime a little bit, if you don't mind.
No,
We can hit
that's
all
fine.
those. Okay. Your true crime podcast. Why do you do that? What's going on with that?
Well, true crime is along the lines. It's part of the conversations of the strange. One of my first things that I really, really enjoyed, or one of the first books that I ever wrote, was called The Goffle Road Murders, and I was living in New Jersey at the time, and I wrote a book about a murder, and I just kind of was like, I guess it's okay, and I never considered myself a true crime writer, but the more I thought about it, and I kind of started steering away less from the paranormal, less from the ghost hunting, and less into. And I wanted to get into something that had, I hate to say the word pizzazz, or a little bit more flash to it, a little bit more fascination with it, that had that wow factor. And I know when we talk true crime, there's always a victim, and there's always a victim that leaves behind a family. So I don't say that without compassion, but I want to. Yeah, but there's always that wow factor. I mean, all you have to do is just turn on the TV. Pluto channel, the channel Pluto TV has like 3 or 4 channels dedicated to like forensic files, unsolved mysteries, FBI, whatever. and CSI has been popular for how many years? So, I mean,
Mhm. Well,
there's
people love true
always
crime.
people want to talk about crime and are fascinated
Oh
by it.
yeah.
And I decided, hey, let's just embrace what I am. I've started meeting friends that were true crime, and I was given the opportunity to write about more murders that I've been trying to collect information on. And I found out that a cousin of mine was actually executed in the electric chair in New York because he beat a man to death for $1 back in the 1950s.
Hey,
So,
that's a dollar. That's a dollar.
yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. And this cousin and him and I share the same great grandfather. So I was like, okay, maybe there might be
Damn.
something to this. So I started reading up more on crime and stuff. And like I said earlier, like all of this stuff kind of all blends together: horror, science fiction, fantasy, paranormal, professional wrestling, astronomy, true crime, law enforcement, writing,
Mhm.
comic books, superheroes. They all bleed together in this massively huge genre: literature, history, all of that, and it's all fascinating. And that's one of the things that I find interesting about true crime, is it all bleeds together like that.
You know, if you want to make money as a podcast, easy thing to do as a true crime podcast. And I mean,
Yep.
I'm saying like, if you do true crime, it doesn't have to be all that well investigated, but it does help to do your research. That's what people go to when they listen to podcasts. They listen to true crime podcasts. That's usually the thing. I even
It's
asked in the chat.
informative, it's entertaining and informative at the same time.
Hmm?
And you begin to pick up, what's fascinating is that you yourself, the listener, not you, Mr. Deadman,
Yeah,
but
same.
if you listen to enough true crime, you read enough true crime, you start seeing patterns. And the more patterns you see in how these people do this person does this, it makes your writing better, and it makes you a better storyteller. And you have a more understanding of the human dynamic. And the more understanding you have of a human dynamic, the more real your characters are. And that's one of the other reasons why I like true crime so much.
Oh, you definitely realize that you've been overthinking things. How easy it is for people to get away with certain crimes right in the fucking open. Who is it? Was
Yeah.
it? Who was it? Was it Ted? No, it wasn't Ted Bundy. Who am I thinking of? Oh my god. Famous serial killer killed a bunch of guys. That's all serial killers. That lured him to his house in his basement. A bunch of usually black
Oh, John
guys.
Wayne Gacy.
Gacy, usually black guys. And the police went to his house. The police went to his fucking house. God damn.
Oh, no, no, no.
Twice. Was
It's
it
not.
Gacy? I don't think it was Gacy. Who was it? Who was it?
Oh gosh, Minnesota dude. Oh, his name just slipped my mind.
Who is he?
The cannibal guy,
Yeah, he was a cannibal. He was.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
That's him. That's the one.
Yeah,
Gacy was the clown, right? Gacy was the fucking
yeah,
clown.
yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. And that's why, one of the reasons why, understanding Gacy, you kind of understand where Heath Ledger came from in his performance as the Joker.
Dude,
His
that was a good
like
performance.
Yeah, like you look at his Joker performance and you go, this guy did a heck of a lot of reading on John Wayne Gacy.
Mm-hmm. Well, way too
And
hard. Way too hard, and fucked him up. Way too hard. Uh,
yeah, John Wayne Gacy was one of these people that it was a good thing that he is no longer with us.
yeah. But Dahmer, man, shit. After learning about that guy, holy hell.
Yeah.
Really, if you want to write a true crime novella or whatever, you could have something so simple like the cops show up, they investigate the guy, they even smell something. But the cops are just, they don't want to take care of it. They don't want to deal with it. They don't want
Yeah.
to deal with it.
Ironically, it was Minneapolis police.
Yeah,
Totally serious. I'm
right.
just-
They don't want to deal with it.
yeah. I don't want to be on the police bashing bandwagon at all, but somebody needs to have a very long sit down conversation with
But you know what?
anybody that has served on the Minneapolis Police Department from between 1990 and now, just going, guys, what is up? It's like,
Right. You don't want to do your job sometimes. You put your knee on the neck a little too long sometimes. Oh,
yeah,
God. Jesus. And now you're being defunded. Oh, fuck. God
yeah.
damn. Okay, okay.
Thanks for destroying our world. Holy cow! You wouldn't
I know,
realize
right?
that. Just
The one incident, sparked off
yeah, it's
everything.
just turned literally this whole planet upside down. And
Yeah. God
no,
damn
and
it.
I'm not saying that reform needed to happen. And God bless the family of George Floyd and everything that had to deal
Ugh.
with that. But I I wish the amount of anger and effort that has gone into that would pop up for other things that need to be shifted and changed
Right?
well. And I posted a meme on my Facebook page. It had a picture of Epstein and his girlfriend, and it said what happened with George Floyd and all the changes that resulted in that. This Epstein thing should be the impetus for anything associated with pedophilia and
Right? But no one's talking about
child.
that. In fact, if anything, I think what there was recent TED talks about people saying that we should sympathize with pedophilia. That pedophilia should be like a mental disorder. I'm like, what the fuck you guys are talking about? No, 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 no.
No, no,
Like that's one of those
no.
things, and I am very vocal about this. That's one of those things where I'm like, if we gotta identify a pedo in the making, identify it, we just need to mark them with something. We need to track who they
Yeah,
are and isolate them from society. I mean, I have some
yeah,
pretty drastic ideas what you could do. Jesus Christ.
it's really insane. I mean, just like the fact that people are actually talking about that. It's one of those things where it's like what they're trying to do is they are now testing the waters to have it be part of the acronym, the
Nope. Nope.
LGBTQA
You put that P on
and the
there.
other letters.
You put
Yeah,
that
and they
P on
want to
there.
add the
I'm
P
done.
to it. They add,
I'm done. You put,
yeah.
it's already too many letters already. But you put that P on there. Oh man, I'm absolutely fucking done.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. There are people that want to do that. And it's just kind of like, it's much the same way. Like, if you ever saw that episode of South Park where he's like, we just can't help who we love, Stan goes, screw you guys. You want to have sex with kids. That makes
Yep.
you awful.
Yep. Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah. So it's that type of
And
thing. So I'm just like,
once again, on the Deadmanstone podcast, some people who listen to this on the podcast probably don't follow the YouTube channel, but every single stream I've been doing so far for the past, I think, week, pedophilia has come up in each episode, each stream. And we're talking about multiple streams a day. Jesus Christ, yet another
I
one.
think there's something going on because I keep seeing topics about child like pedophiles and child abuse. I'm like, you know what? Today I'm going to be the guy to admit to this. In one of the Facebook groups that I was in, it was a lot of dark art, and I love dark art. I love stuff that kind of just twists around.
Right.
And there was a whole series of images where people were it was like children with monsters under the bed. So like
Okay.
the joke of it was like the very things that you were afraid of that might be in the bed or lurking in your closet. Well, this artist actually either drew them or photographed them. I'm not quite sure how they did it, but it was really realistic. And one of the images actually that they had was of like it was a whole series of images, and you just kind of scroll through each one, and then you come across this one. It was of a girl that was under the age of, like, I don't believe she had hit her I don't believe she had
You
hit
could
puberty
tell she
yet.
was a child depiction. Was it a photo? Or
Yeah, it
was
was a
it
child
illustration?
depiction,
Okay.
and she was only wearing a pair of briefs, and her hands were covered on her chest, and it was just like, why did the child need to be dressed like that?
Right? When my little girl
It
goes to
was,
bed, she's not just wearing briefs. She's wearing pajamas. She's wearing
yeah,
pajamas. Jesus Christ, these people.
y-
Oh
yeah.
God.
He complained about it, and
Eradicate.
Facebook
Round them
actually
up.
sent me a message.
Gas them. Round them up. Gas them.
Yeah, Facebook sent me a message saying, "Thank you for letting us know, but however, that does not violate community standards."
Of course not.
And yeah, and I was
Of course
like,
not.
okay, that's just when I saw that image, I just was like, that's not cool. And what was funny about it was I was sitting there looking at the comments, which, by the way, if you ever want to lose faith in humanity, just read the comment section of any anything. And there were people there that were just like, come on, it's art. You're the people with the problem if you see something sexualized there. And it was
Mm.
just like, oh, Lord. Let's
Mm-hmm.
start taking those people's names down and making sure that they're not doing anything with
Right.
kids, if
Right.
that's the way that they're going to be.
Attracting down
So,
like sexual predators, man. Then be on the sexual predator list. Jesus
yeah,
Christ. Okay.
exactly. There's always
Okay.
that one guy with big
Now,
eyes going, can I meet your children? It's like, go away.
no, you can't be my kid, but stay right there. I got something for you. I tell you, we can meet. It's my friend,
Exactly. Oh,
Mr.
what's that?
Shotgun.
My daddy had a gun like that, and oh, looks like I'm gonna go see Grandma and Elvis now. Goodbye,
Yep.
Mr. Deadman.
Yep. All right. Social
Grandma.
bandwagging. Social bandwagging. Oh, I understand that grinds your gears, right? I always ask my guests, what's one thing that grinds your gears? You mentioned social bandwagging. Why does that grind your gears? What's going on with that?
Because I tend not to trust it.
Yeah.
My attitude is, if there's a big thing that we're all focused in on, we're being misdirected. What is it should we not be seeing? And it's sort of like, I used to teach magic, and
So like
I
misdirection.
used to teach. Yeah, and constantly what you learn is misdirection. You've got the coin in your hand, your right hand still clutches your left hand puts the coin in your right hand, and then before you let your right hand show everyone where it is, you close it up, and then you close your left hand, and then you quickly place the coin into your pocket, and then they go, ooh, open up your right hand, it's not there. Open up your left hand, it's not there. The coin's in the pocket, and if it's total sleight of hand. So when we get on these giant bandwagons, and when you get people that are like, I am offended about this, or this is not good, or we need to change this, it tends to be media driven. It tends to be somebody that doesn't, like, I want to know what is it that we should not be looking at. If so, like, I tend not to be trust when anybody's unhappy about something, or if something needs to be shifted or changed, I just tend not to trust it. I tend to go, there's something bigger going on here, and I'd like to know what that is. What is it that I shouldn't be watching? Like, everybody
see
right
that.
now is talking
I
COVID.
can see that.
What
Oh
other
yeah.
crap has been going on
It's like
in the
hiding
world that we
attention.
can't see?
It's like hiding
I'm sorry?
attention. Yeah, I can see that because it's like hiding attention, extreme hiding attention on something that, I guess normally, I guess back before social media, when the news would cover something, it would cover it and move on to the next thing, But now it's like we're all focused on these particular events, like it's COVID, and then Black Lives Matter. But there's black
Yeah.
people shooting each other in the streets. There's chaos in fucking
Yeah.
Chicago that makes no sense. They're just flat out looting, bringing U-Haul trucks to the looting as if they were ready for it. Oh no, looting is reparations. Blah, blah, blah. You get Chaz popping up. You get people saying defund the police, and it's like craziness all around, all around.
Yeah. That's what I would like to know. Like, what is the big thing that's happening that, like, they don't want to see? Like, um,
Well,
I'm just
they're
going to
not
be like
talking about.
I'm going to just say this really stupidly. Like, are there people that are like, hey, you know what? While everybody is focused in on these political things going on, why don't we spend our time, like, making the candy bars a quarter-inch smaller so that we can save chocolate and charge more money? I know it's a stupid thing, but I'm using that type of thing as an example. While these people are going on, why don't we start diverting more funds to this politician's offshore bank account? Like, that's the type of stuff that I find, and I usually find that it tends to be the media that actually makes things worse than what they are. I've seen it
Yeah,
firsthand. I used to be a newspaper reporter, and I would watch the looks on reporters' faces when they would ask people, like, were there any injuries? And if there weren't, they would actually look disappointed. They looked like somebody that just got turned down for a date. I mean, it was the funniest thing. So, I
right.
mean,
Because
I've seen this.
they need to have a body. They need to have blood.
Yeah.
If it bleeds, it leads. If there's no blood,
Yeah,
then
exactly.
it's a
Exactly.
dud.
And since we can't create it, or since it's not there, we create it. It's that type of thing. So,
Right. right?
So we're
And
we're gonna
we're
do it,
talking
and that's
about
why I don't trust the media, and that's why it grinds my gears.
they're doing that right in front of us with Black Lives Matter. Oh, let's support that. Donate, donate, donate. Where's that going? Where's that money going to? Is it going to the black community? No, it's going to the DNC.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, no
Yeah.
one talks about that. And we mentioned earlier, no one talks about Epstein. What's going on with Ghislaine Maxwell?
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
still alive, by the
Feels so-
way. And if she survives long enough to testify, oh shit, that's gonna be a fucking doozy. Oh my god,
Yeah.
I would live stream that fucking event, a fucking popcorn and beer.
I would live stream her jail cell. I mean,
Yeah.
not to be crass about it. Like, you know what? Let's let her. We should be watching or some very trusted people should be watching everything that woman does, not for their own personal thrills,
Right.
but just like, you know what? Let's just have some women there. Let her watch. Like, oh, okay. Miss Maxwell is going to the bathroom. Bring the women security guards in to watch her, and then when she's done, just watch her in the cell reading a book.
You might have to have the
It's
Secret
just
Service. Have the Secret Service over there. I don't know, man. You need to have her
Yeah,
protected.
exactly.
Jesus, because the information and documents that have been released is already interesting. What she's gonna say, oh man! And while we're talking about this, while you and I are on the same page on this, people are still caught up on. Oh my God, someone's not wearing a mask. I don't give a fucking
Exactly.
Who really
Exactly.
cares?
Yeah, the Karens out there that are screaming about the masks, and it's kind of like, you know what, screw the masks for a minute. Let's find out like how many of these people were actually like pedophiles, and
Right.
let's start getting names and start taking names down and start taking these people out and taking them out of society and locking them away someplace. And it's one of those things where it's like, holy cow, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but this type of stuff really gives the tinfoil hat crowd a lot of the Alex Joneses, the InfoWar people. It really, really gives them credibility.
Oh,
Alex
it
Jones
does.
will come out and say,
This is
say like,
2020
I was
has to
gonna
be
say-
Alex Jones' year. This has to be his
Oh my
fucking year.
gosh.
He has to be on fucking
Yeah.
fire. And that dude
Yeah.
is great. I mean, he's entertaining. Like half the stuff he says, I don't know if it's true or not, but I mean, it's entertaining. He can put on a show. He can put on a fucking show. It's crazy.
I'll tell you something though. He's got, and oh gosh, if this ever gets back to him, because I'm actually a big fan of his, and yeah, I think, like you said, he's really, really, I really enjoy what he does.
Yeah.
But he there's this kind of Kramer-esque way, Kramer from Seinfeld-esque way. Of like he'll say something random on a show and he'll be like, you know, President Trump's gonna hang glide over Hungary and drop copies of the latest album by Toby Keith on the ground, and you're like, okay, whatever. And then like a couple of months later, President Trump announces, yeah, I'm gonna take up hang gliding. It'll be great. You'll love it. I'll love it. Everybody will do a great job. And then like you're like, okay, that's interesting. And then later on and say like, I invited Toby Keith to the White House because I think he'll have a nice time. We'll have a nice time. We love his music. You'll love it. You won't stop enjoying it. And then later on he goes like, yeah, by the way, I'm going to Hungary. This will be great. And I'm going to take
Trump,
my
your Trump is sounding a little bit more like Bernie right now.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you.
Bernie sounds more like this, but Trump's like, you'll love
I'm
it.
horrible
I'm going to
with-
take my hang glider and a bunch of CDs
I'm
of
horrible with
Toby Keith.
impersonations.
And you're like, there's Alex Jones going, told you. So he just has that happen to him.
Man. Oh god dang. I could see that because you're right, because even something simple like they're putting chemicals or making the frogs gay. Well, that's kind of sort of true. I mean, even that crazy bit. Oh god. And I got to tell you, I'm a huge fan of Alex Jones. Definitely a big fan of Joe Rogan. And when they get together, when they do their fucking podcast together, oh, that's like the best shit ever. So when
it
Rogan's
is.
done moving over here to Texas, he's coming over here to, I think, Austin probably. You know Alex is going to be on that show. There's no fucking way. They're going to have a
I wouldn't be
reunion.
surprised if he builds it in the same studio. So
That'd be fucking great. That'd be fucking great. Oh, shit, man. Every time they get together, it's a fucking blast.
it really is, because like what's also funny is that when you, because Alex Jones and like a lot of the people that are on his shows, they'll say something without any explanation. and you're just like, wait, what? And like they sometimes they'll get guys that come on and they talk about the Kennedy assassination, and they'll say something like, well, everybody knows that the guy that killed Kennedy was the janitor for the White House. And you're like, wait, what? And he did not say that, by the way. I'm just
And
using
yeah,
that
yeah,
as an example. And you're like, wait, where did I miss that? And it's kind of like, unless you are a massive Kennedy conspiracy theorist, you won't know anything about the janitor in the White House that had this done or something like
right,
that. And
right.
it's sometimes I wish that they would out because like I wish that they would give a little bit more preface to where the stuff was that they come from, because sometimes you'll be listening and other times like I'll go honestly months without listening to an episode just because of my day job and other stuff comes in, and then when I finally do catch a show, he'll say something like, well, right here, we know that they're actually the globalists are experimenting with their own Hulk creature. Like they're actually having anger, a guy that's angry turning giant and green, and we've actually got proof. And I told you this was happening, and here it is. And I'll be like, when did you mention that? When did you say that? And I want to go back. Where was this? Where was
Hmm.
like when did that happen? And that is not to say that he hasn't said that. I just want to go, is the documentation someplace,
Right,
because I would like to see how far back he knew about this and from who did he know about it for and that type of thing. So
right. He says some crazy
he's
stuff, but it's some sometimes when he says even something crazy, it turns out there's a little truth behind it. There's some truth behind it.
yeah, he's been talking about the globalists and their child pornography and child sex slave rings, and you're like, okay, whatever. Then
Intergalactic
Jeffrey
psychic
Epstein.
vampires is, I believe, what he called it on the Rogan podcast. Intergalactic psychic vampires.
Yeah,
And he referred to him
yeah.
as Dracula. Code name for someone he's actually thinking about. We probably know who. He's probably a president of one time.
Yeah, I'm here to suck your blood. Blah blah.
Oh god dang. Oh, shit. Okay. Well, the other question to ask all my guests is, what is your favorite horror movie and why?
My favorite horror movie. Um, I'm gonna get laughed out of the room by every female. Sorry, I'm gonna get laughed out of the room by every fan, but I would probably
Twilight?
say that
You like Twilight?
no, no, no. I love the Benicio del Toro Wolfman movie.
I mean, that's not a bad movie. Is it a bad movie?
A lot of people have said it is. People have said like, "Oh, this is a terrible movie." It is one of my favorite werewolf movies. That and Dog Soldiers are probably two of the best werewolf movies, and I've always been a fan of the werewolf. I've always liked that character. Like I'm more apt if I was to write a universal monster, I would want the Wolfman. And what I loved about the Wolfman is it actually got what the Lon Chaney Wolfman movie was supposed to be. Like the Lon Chaney Wolfman movie, whenever he would attack somebody, he would just kind of like attack a woman out of the dark, and everything was in shadows, and then he threw her to the ground, and then the people would come running up and they'd be like, "Oh my gosh, look at what this woman looks like. Oh, it's
See,
horrible."
this is
And
one
you
of those
never
movies that I
get to
miss.
see.
This is one of those movies that I miss. So why do they complain about it? Like, um,
I think the acting, the story was a little bit chopped up here and there.
okay,
Anthony Hopkins, who's great in just about everything he does, he even sort of kind of phoned it in. Um, and Benicio del Toro also, he can be a bit wooden as well in his performance, and I think also because they actually physically, when he transformed from man to wolf creature, they used a lot of CGI for that.
oh
And I think
yeah,
people are like, give us a American Werewolf in London type of transformation. We want
yeah.
to see that. And those are always the best parts of a werewolf movie, is
Or like
watching the guy
or like
turn from
the
normal guy
classic
to
Wolfman, or the classic one where it's just done. It's just like camera work
yeah.
and makeup. That would be
Yeah, that's
nice.
Yeah, that's what people want to see, and I enjoyed that. It's one of those movies where I watch it over and over and over again. It's such a great horror movie, and it's so much fun. And like I said, it's one of those just there are certain little nuances, and yes, even though that they somewhat phoned it in, I loved I loved Benicio del Toro as the Wolfman and Anthony Hopkins Wolfman, and what they did a really good job of is there were like two really big questions from the old Lon Chaney movie that were answered
Okay,
in
what were
this
they?
movie, which I thought was fantastic.
Okay, and what were they?
Number one, can it be explained why Bela Lugosi turns into a dog and then bites Lon Chaney, and Lon Chaney turns into the Wolfman? Why didn't Lon Chaney turn into a dog? The second thing is, if you are a guy that turns into something that resembles a grizzly and you attack people, you're gonna maul the crap out of somebody,
Of
and
course.
they're gonna look like they got thrown into a wood chipper, and
Right.
that's exactly what they did with this movie.
Okay.
They made, like, if you've got teeth, you've got nails, and you're clawing at people and you're eating them, you are not going to leave a pretty corpse. And that's what they had with this movie, and that was what was so great about it.
So the gore was on point.
Yeah, and I'm not a gore guy either. I'm not someone that enjoys that, but it just made sense for that. It was just
Would it
horrible.
pass the Joe Bob Briggs rating scale? The three B's. Do you get the bodies, the blood, and the boobs? Do you get that?
You only get the bodies and the blood.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's not a yeah, they
Well,
didn't do
okay.
love scenes or anything.
Some chicks are being like, no, maybe they need more money to be a little bit more convinced. I don't know, but
Yeah.
okay. It's kind of hard to reach that. Damn it! But I'll give it a try. You mentioned Dog Soldiers. Dog Soldiers is great too. That was a good movie.
Yeah, but the thing is that, see, with the Joe Bob Briggs scale is, you've got your three B's, but you can have a movie where you've only got two B's, but those two B's have to outweigh the other B that's
Right.
missing.
Right.
And Dog Soldiers does that.
true.
Dog Soldiers is the far superior. Like, as much as I love the Wolfman movie, it is the creation. I don't know how to explain this. I get more enjoyment from the Wolfman movie, but Dog Soldiers is the better movie, if that makes sense.
Well,
And Dog Soldiers is great. I mean, like, they were smart. They hired dancers to be the werewolves, which was great. They put the dancers in like those stilts that like painters use or carpenters use, and then they just build the whole mask and suit around them, and it looked amazing.
those costumes were
And
fucking great because that wasn't CG, right? I mean, that was
no,
that was real shit. Okay, that was cool.
yeah, that was real. Yeah, yeah, and they were beautiful, and they had some great lines in there, and it was one of those movies where it was just kind of like, I would really, really, really love it if the more of the guys that you liked survived.
Yeah.
And and that was the one thing why it just was like, oh, don't kill off Sean Pertwee, don't kill off the guy that wanted to see the soccer match score. It was just
they
like,
were great. It had a good balance of comedy and like tension. You know, like the guy's intestines was coming out of him. The guy's intestines was out of him, and he was still talking shit.
yeah.
If only I could. Man, that dude must have big balls to be doing like that. Shit, if that was
Yeah.
me, I'd
Oh,
be
my
crying like a
favorite
bitch.
line though was when that one wolf is about to eat that guy that wanted to see the football soccer match, and he screams, "I hope I give you the shits." I just thought that was great.
That was good. That was good.
And it was
Yeah.
good. And the director of that, I think his name was Neil Marshall. I may get his name wrong. He's gone on to
Neil
do
Marshall.
some other things.
Neil
Did
Marshall.
I get that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's gone on to do some other things, but he's one of those guys that was like, he was kind of like Alex Proyas, who directed The Crow. Like, those guys really should have gone on to do some blockbusters. and I don't know that they've ever gotten their day. Or if they've gone and done a blockbuster, I don't know the blockbuster has done as well as it was expected to, and then they just go back to making these smaller movies. But those guys should have, they really honestly should be directors that people talk about. And I really like Neil Marshall, and I like Alex Proyas, who directed The Crow and the incredibly underrated Dark City with Rufus Sewell.
Dark City is a good
such
movie. That is a good movie. That's good.
Yeah, I actually saw that in the theater. I remember when that came out.
I got a question in the chat for you.
Sure.
Did you like Reanimator?
That was fun because Jeffrey Combs is one of those guys that he kind of shows up, and no matter what it is that he's in, everybody else could be phoning it in. He does not. Jeffrey Combs is like Bill Oberst. If you guys know who Bill Oberst is. Bill Oberst, probably one of the finest horror B-movie actors you've ever seen. Everybody else, oh my gosh, look at that monster there. Oh no, how are we going to survive? There's Bill Oberst next to him. We're going to get in there, and we're going to fight it, and we're going to win. Or, I remember when I was your age, and I am here for your soul. And the characters Bill Oberst plays on screen are diametric to the person that he is in real life.
Hey, that's good. That's what
one of the nicest guys you could ever meet. I've interviewed him and had him on my podcast a couple of times. Absolutely a fantastic human being. That's the other thing that's so great about the horror community is the characters that you see on screen are the exact opposite of who they are. Some of the nicest guys that you will ever meet are the guys dripping blood and removing heads and throwing intestines left and right. And then when you meet these people in real life, hi, I'm so glad to meet you. Thank you so much for liking my movie. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's one of the reasons why the horror community is as beloved as it is.
Right.
By their fans. Is because those guys are 9 times out of 10. I mean, how often have you heard stories of, oh yeah, this guy played a superhero, and then you meet him in real life and he's like the biggest jerk on the planet.
Right. A big dick. Fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Has a huge ego. And usually these horror guys, even the guys who play like, Jason stuff, even this podcast, it gets, I get the fans I get. I get the crowd that I get, but they don't even come on this show. Because they like to talk about what they do, and that's what I like. That's what I like. Even with horror authors, I can get them on this show and talk about what they do because they like that. Some of them might have some egos, but they like that.
I got to say also a big old hello to a friend of mine named Jessica Smith Hodder, who is listening in. She just sent me a message, and she is probably one of the best Sherlockians out there. And she just sent me a message, and I wanted to say hello to her and big thank you to her for listening in.
Okay.
And she is really nice person. And one of the things that that going back to why horror is so beloved is horror. Like I said, it's cathartic. It is utterly cathartic.
Yeah.
I mean,
true.
Who hasn't felt left out? Who wishes that they had the ability to turn into something and get revenge on the people that were mean to them?
Right.
I mean, like half the slasher films are that way. I'm catching up on all the horror movies that I missed as a child, and I finally saw something called Slaughter High with Caroline Munro in it, and that was a scream. That was one of the funniest movies I've seen, and it was great. And the whole plot was a guy that was bullied in high school has a special reunion, goes and kills everyone. Prom night, same thing.
Hey. Rings true. It's like Columbine. shit.
Yeah.
But no. But it's true about horror. I mean, horror is, it definitely is cathartic, and it's shit. Sometimes just seeing something that's gonna test your sensibilities, make you feel uneasy, just give you that thrill. That's good. It's good to have. It's good to have that.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
Sometimes, like even if it doesn't really scare you, but sometimes you see like the final girl like going and making stupid decisions. You're like, bitch, why are you running upstairs? What the fuck's wrong with you? You're yelling. You're like, God damn it. You're feeling it. That's good.
You know why you're yelling at that? Because if you're in the grocery store and you've got the lady in front of you that has that has 75 groceries and you just have a gallon of milk that you need to get home right away,
Mm-hmm.
and this lady has just paid for all that stuff, and then she pulls out a giant bag of change,
Oh
and you've
God.
got to stand there and watch that. Normal people will not say anything because they know it will turn into a huge whatever.
Yep.
And
Just
in this day and age, you don't know if this lady would come back after you've bought your gallon of milk, and she comes back with a son who's got said shotgun, as previously mentioned, because you just won't do that. But when you're watching a movie and the girl's going up the stairs and you're going, "Oh, dummy, stay downstairs. What the hell's wrong with you?"
right.
That's what's great about horror. You
That
can do
is.
that.
That is. All right. I think this is a good place to wrap the show up. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this, press the like button, share, and subscribe. Don Smith, thank you so much for being on the show. You're welcome back anytime. There's some things we didn't really get a chance to really
Oh,
dig into, like your stories, your horror stories for one. I mean, we talked about your comic. We talked about your podcast. Do you want to plug your comic again where people can find it? I guess we do that.
sure. Yeah, they could go to pinioncomics.com. That's my personal imprint. Pinion, PIN, ION comics.com, or just Google pinioncomics.com. I've been published on drivethroughcomics.com and also Indie Planet. You can find my stuff there.
Okay.
And also, I'm going to do a quick plug for Conversations of the Strange. It's on most podcast forms. I had a problem. I had a technical problem, and I'm slowly getting it back up there. And also, Tombstone Stories Publishing. That's where I publish a lot of my short story horrors, and that's where a lot of my focus has been going right now. Please pick up our anthology, Blood from a Tombstone.
Yeah.
And also, I've got a bunch of little short stories that I've had some fun with that you
See,
guys can get
need
on
to have you
Amazon.
again. Need to have you again to talk about that. you know,
Yes. I'm
and
going to
just
put you on the spot. I need
you
you to
will,
come
you
on
will.
my show.
I'll do that too. I'll go on your show. No problem. No problem. All right, Don
Awesome.
Smith. You take it easy. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Y'all have a good one.